Hey, it's Big V here. Today we're talking teams, and specifically today we're going to talk about how as an entrepreneur you can prioritize and focus on the most important things in your business. Now, I don't know if you're all like me, but as entrepreneurs, we are constantly coming up with new ideas, unbelievable things. We go to a conference or a convention. Now, how many of you are guilty of this? You go to a convention and you walk around with your trick-or-treat bag, you talk to all the vendors, look at all the new technology, see all the new ideas, and you put all these ideas in your bag. And then you start a note called whatever this conference is, and you go through the conference and you listen to the speakers, whether there's a speaker on video or social media or listing or creating buyer leads. We write down all of these notes, and then you go home and you get back to work and you set that trick-or-treat bag in your office, never to be looked at again. That's one way. The other way is you go back and you get excited and you go back to your team and you say, team, I have 18 new ideas and here they are. And then you idea vomit on everybody. And your people love you and they show up every day wanting to do the right thing. And so they take all your ideas and they go out and start to execute. But before they actually ever finish anything that's done, you go to another conference and you start the whole process again. You get your trick-or-treat bag, you get all the brochures and ideas, you go around to all the vendors and talk to them, you listen to the amazing speakers, and then guess what you do when you come back to the office? Yep, blah, idea vomit all over again. And before they've even finished the project from the last show or convention, you've now given them 18 new ideas or things to do. What happens in this environment is the people that work with you start to get frustrated that they aren't able to actually accomplish anything. And they start losing confidence in their ability to finish a project. And as they start to lose confidence, their job satisfaction goes down, their frustration increases, and you start to witness and experience turnover in your company. Now, can anybody relate to this, or is it just me? I mean, go down in the chat box down here below and just write down if that's something that you've experienced. More ideas and not enough time to execute or finish them. What if we actually took 2 or 3 things and we absolutely finished them? We took them from beginning to end. What I'm going to share with you in this video today, and I'm going to give it to you at the very end, is I'm going to give you a process that we use that allows us to prioritize the right things in our business, put them in the right order, and execute them till they're done. The difference oftentimes between average and exceptional is the exceptional have the ability to execute on the basic fundamentals that the average knows they should do, but they just keep idea vomiting before they get the projects done. So how do we do it? We use this process called AGILE. Now I want to think about AGILE, and the AGILE starts with understanding where it comes from. How many of you have heard of a Scrum? What's a Scrum? Go ahead and put it in here. What do you think a Scrum is? I was in a hotel just recently, and it was kind of funny because I walked into the hotel and my wife had the TV on watching sports. Now I want you to know how unusual that is. I can barely get her to go to a basketball game or a football game with me. Watching sports at home or in a hotel room never happens. And I watched in, I said, honey, what are you watching? Who are you and what have you done with my wife? And she was watching rugby. It was the World Cup of rugby. And these 2 teams, there was an Australian team and there was a team out of, I believe it was South Africa, the All Blacks, and they were competing. And they would get together and they would do this thing where they all lock arms and they put their heads into this huddle. It's called a scrum, and they figure out who's doing what. And then all of a sudden the ball would squirt out, somebody would grab it and they would run for a while, then they would pass it and run for a while and pass it and run for a while, and somebody would kick it through and they go like this, and that's a goal. I had a hard time understanding because I've never really watched rugby, but I was watching my wife as she was fascinated with a sport neither one of us knew really anything about. The one thing that resonated with me was this thing they called the scrum. The scrum is where everybody put their heads in, they locked arms, got on the same page, discussed what was going to happen, what play they were going to run, and then all of a sudden they broke and everybody knew where they were supposed to go. Well, in Agile begins with a scrum. It's a daily huddle where you meet with your team and you say, what are our priorities today? What are the top 3? What is the top 1 of 3? And who's going to do what to make sure we move the ball forward? What a beautiful concept and a beautiful idea. I remember being with a couple of my business partners, and my partners had come to me after one more show of coming back with all these ideas, and I had frustrated them to the point where they just said, we can't execute anything, so we're not going to start anything new. And you're not allowed to go to any more shows. Well, I can't do that. I love going to shows and conferences. And so I said, how can I help? What do I need to change as a leader to be more effective in the way that we guide? And my partner talked to me about this concept called Agile. Agile is generally used in software development. So a software development person or an engineer, often called the Scrum Master, will bring a bunch of engineers together and they will all write code. The idea of the Scrum Master is to make sure that the code is written in the right order, and when it all comes together, you have this eloquent piece of software that communicates well with each other. When this is done, this fits nicely next to it, and this fits nicely next to it. When you're done, you have this finished product. That's what happens in Agile. So we took a complicated concept of Agile and they dumbed it down and they Verlized it, made it so I could actually use it. And it was simply this. It's a spreadsheet where you put an idea or a project backlog together of all the things you could work on. And I want you to imagine all of the projects that would go on a project backlog. Everything from hire a buyer's agent to create a new training program to start a geographic farm, or let's do some client events. We put all of these things on a project backlog or on this Agile. And then we prioritize them, giving each project a number. Start with, say, 500. Now, let's say that you need to hire a buyer's agent and you want to do an event for Thanksgiving. You want to do Pie Day, where you give pies to your clients and give pies to first responders. And then another event might be you want to do investor seminar, an investor meeting where you're teaching people how to invest in real estate. So each of these has specific things. And a fourth one might be something like, I want to get my CRM working at a higher level. Each of these projects would be given a number. And it's not that it's higher number or a lower number. Let me just give you an example. I might put a 500 on hiring a buyer's agent, and I say, okay, so if I have to do an event for Thanksgiving that's coming up in just a couple of weeks, that's going to be a higher priority, so I'm going to give it a 600. And I've got to do an event for investors that's happening in January, I'm going to call that a 400. It's not that it's 100 points bigger or lower, it's that you're thinking about, is it a higher or lower priority? And then we use a simple tab at the top and we sort by the highest number to lowest number, and it puts them in order. That's called a project backlog. Now, I'm going to tell you how to prioritize. So here's how we do it. When you prioritize, this is how we put them in order. The highest level priorities are always dollar productive activities. Does this project generate or create revenue? Yes or no? If it does, it's a higher priority. Number two, is this an event with a date? Is there a date associated with it, meaning it needs to be done by a certain date, whether it's a mailer or a client event or an event that you're putting on for investors? An event with date goes second. And then the third priorities are operational excellence, the things that you're putting in place, like setting up your CRM, launching your social media strategy, creating YouTube videos. Those would be a third priority. So one is dollar productive activities. Number two has to be events with dates. And number three, operational excellence. So as you're going through looking at all your project on this project backlog, you just give everything a number. Once you sort, you might have 60 projects on there, but you can only work on 2 or 3 at a time. So you take the top 3 numbers, and those are the things that you're going to do. You'll notice on the spreadsheet shown on the screen right here that you can see the date and a definition of done, of what done looks like. Then we created a new tab called a sprint. Now, you ready for what a sprint is? A sprint is a simple concept where you take the project backlog, you then click on the sprint tab, and on the bottom, here it lives, your action plan worksheet. This is the details of what needs to be done in order in that exact project to get it done. So for example, if you're doing something like a client event with pies, we have to create the mailers, we have to invite our clients, we have to determine who the first responders are that we're going to give pies to, we have to identify the pie place. You make a list of all those activities, and then you define who's going to do it on the team and when it's going to be done by, and then every day you just get up and you look at things being checked off in order to get things done by the date of the project. It's phenomenal when you start getting strategic at the execution of the projects that are on your project backlog. You're going to be blown away in your business when your team is so excited to show you that the projects are getting completed and you're getting done and you're creating scale in your business. Whether you're a team of 1, just yourself, and you have a virtual assistant, or you're a team of 10 and you've got lots of people helping you, the Agile process is a game changer. I'm going to give you not only a link, but I'm going to give you examples of sprints and a backlog that you could actually plug in and use. Maybe I'll give you an example of a client appreciation event, and you can go in and you can see how we do it, all of the to-dos, make adjustments or edits to it, and have your own. So click on the link below, get organized with the way you think about prioritization, use Agile, and Agile be just that. The reason we call it Agile, by the way, is because what's a priority today may change because of conditions in the marketplace, and it's okay to change something's priority and switch something to a higher number. Agile means that we are all clear and focused on the right things in the right order. Your job as a leader, if I could just share one more thing with you, is not to do tasks, but it's to eliminate impediments. So when the team comes to you in the daily scrum or the daily huddle and you're talking about what's working and what's not working, if they're not able to move the project forward because they need budget or they need the answers to questions or they need you to make a decision on the marketing, your job as a leader is to simply remove impediments and allow them to move forward with their project. Good luck with your new Agile. Enjoy being organized and specific and strategic in the execution of your business plan, and let's take your ability to scale your business to the next level simply by being agile. Remember, go down right here below, and I want you to click on the link. I'm going to give you an Agile, and I'm going to give you a sprint that you can actually see working, and I encourage you to plug it in and start using it immediately in your business.